Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
me. I'm Rob. And we got a lot of coverage to talk about.
Oh,
mostly HC candidates.
Yes, it is that time. You know, we've been talking about this now for the last week or two, saying it's time for Dable to go. You know, we've lost all faith in him, basically. And with that, of course, opens the door for somebody has to take his spot. So we have 5 candidates to talk here about with guys that should be available this offseason, you know, barring them going elsewhere mid-season, into season, whatever, or immediately going elsewhere, but should be available. And like I said, I think probably the top 5 candidates for head coaching jobs overall this offseason, though obviously things can change between now and the end of the season. We're going to give you guys also our preview of the Giants getting killed by the Saints this weekend, as we've given up all hope for any wins ever. We're just that way now. Yeah, it's just, we're like whoever the Harlem Globetrotters play each week. That's what it feels like now. We're just basically the team. It's like, you know, when like a college team like hires like Southeastern Alabama Polytech Christian University of Huntsville, like that's what I feel like we become basically. Like we're that small school that people pay to play.
Or it's like, you know, getting a welcome to go unpunked.
Yeah. So we also got some Giants news overall to give you guys here. We have somebody coming back potentially from injury. We got somebody who should go to Canton but isn't apparently going. We got some news on the Malik Nabers front, because that front just keeps on just nonstop giving news and opinions here. So let's get right into it with the first bit of news here. So Deontae Johnson is rumored to be returning from IR potentially this weekend here. So they did even open up the 21-day window for him to return to the roster overall. Now, I'm kind of excited for this one here, to be honest with you guys. Like, there's not a lot to be excited about this year. Let's be very frank about that. This is a crappy year. This is a guy that showed some promise in the preseason, but then you go back to it and go again. It's the preseason. You know, you don't want to get too hyped up over a game that, quite frankly, doesn't matter too much. But here's a kid who went out from a small school, went on the football field for the very first time, and got a chance to go ahead and show what he can do. And a lot of us were impressed. So when we were curious, hey, would this translate to the regular season? Is this a guy that we're going to see some legit playing time at the linebacker position here this year? And he got hurt. We never got the chance to see it. Well, this may be our chance. And that's what this season is all about, guys, at this point. Let's be honest. This season is now all about what can the young kids do? Can they show us? What can they do to prove to us I'm part of the solution, not part of the problem? Because that's what the name of the game is right now. So you got a kid from a very small school in Toledo, obviously not exactly known for, you know, being a football powerhouse there, that gets a shot the rest of the season now to go ahead and show us what we can do. And I'm hoping he does come in this week, because this is an offense that's not a bad offense, guys. So, you know, I'm curious to see what he does. I have no clue of what to expect from him, really. I mean, honestly, haven't seen much from him except the preseason a little bit, but he impressed them. So I'm kind of psyched to see what happens there.
Yeah, same. And it's like, it's insane. It's like one of those offenses this year. It could be like, could come out very strong, or they look like the Carolina Panthers. Like, it's one of those offenses, like, he can shine, and it could be a nice like look for him.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's not a bad offense. We'll get them more when we do the preview of what they are, but they've had a lot of injuries, you know, this year. But when healthy, this is a good group on offense, that's for sure.
Yes. I mean, look what they did against the Cowboys, but yeah, we'll talk about that.
Now let's talk about a guy who is potentially the second greatest head coach in Giants history. Is that probably safe to say? Mr. Tom Coughlin, who got snubbed again by the Hall of Fame. How is it this man is not in the Hall of Fame off just the 2 Super Bowl wins alone? I'm sorry. You get 2 Super Bowl wins, get the hell over to Canton. That's ridiculous.
There's not many coaches that have Super Bowl wins. There's not many. There's way fewer that have 2.
Exactly. And then look what he did in Jacksonville. I mean, honestly, Jacksonville goes in the second year, guys, and gets to the AFC title game. Like that in itself. And now look what Jacksonville has done otherwise. I mean, this franchise basically since he's left there has had like 1 or 2 good years. And oh yeah, by the way, he was the VP of football operations those 1 or 2 years. And that's it. Like this team has been utter crap basically for, I believe they're celebrating the 30th anniversary this year. So 30 years. A poop.
Yeah.
Like that's absolutely insanity, guys. And it's it was new ownership that came in and fired him from Jacksonville. And luckily, we got the chance to go ahead and I'm sorry, new ownership that actually brought him back to Jacksonville. Luckily, got the chance to see him as an executive because he was very good at the job. Very good at the job, I thought. And I'm actually kind of curious. We talked about potential guys to come in and Belichick as an executive. Maybe Coughlin. Let's be honest.
That'd be fantastic. Like he, look what he does for this organization already.
Yeah, I mean he's technically a consultant for the Raiders right now because he's helping out Antonio Pierce, which first off just shows you a lot of who he is.
Character.
Actually trying to help out one of his his previous players there from the Giants days, and actually helped bring in people as well that he knew, like Marvin Lewis, people that helped him out as well. So again, speaks a lot to who he is, and the fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame, a guy who brought a second-year team, second year in existence, to the AFC Championship game, brings the Giants 2 Super Bowl championships, goes ahead and goes back to the original team we worked with as an executive and gets them back again into the playoffs and into being a good team. With Blake Bortles as a QB, by the way, which is like, you need it goes all caps when you do it with Blake Bortles as your QB. That's goddamn ridiculous. If that man's not a Hall of Famer, I don't know who is. Like, seriously. The only coach, by the way, who got even in to the final round, which they got one more round to go to determine who gets in. The only one who got in as the head coach is Mike Holmgren. I'm sorry. Mike Holmgren is not a good coach as Tom Coughlin.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, now they both had success at 2 different places. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to poop on Mike Holmgren. He had a Super Bowl, obviously, with Green Bay. He obviously had, good times as a head coach for the Packers overall as well. 161 wins versus 111 losses for his career. Not exactly a bum there. By the way, 170 and 150 is Coughlin's career for a comparison there. So a lot more losses. I'm going to give you that point blank. But he's got one ring. I was like, 2 as an assistant he had, but 1 as a head coach Mike Holmgren had.
And when you look at the wins losses too, like it's also not fair. Like you take over an organization like the Jaguars, you take the Giants into bad times. Like, of course, when you rebuild, no one, is going to think you're going to have a positive years. And like, there's a couple years towards the end as Giants, like it wasn't good, but there's also a lot of different reasons for that as well. Like where he was, sell 500.
Yeah.
And no one out there in modern Giants fans out there would say Eli was a bad quarterback or it was a bad team where we're sub 500. Like we're just barely losing, if you will, compared to nowadays.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, Coughlin is the classic example of why Parcells said when he was in New England. If you're going to want me to cook the dinner, you might as well let me shop for the groceries.
Yeah.
That's what he said. If I can't remember, might be a little bit off 1 or 2 words here, but that's basically the gist of what he said. And yeah, like I said, it's definitely a move, that makes sense when you look at this kind of stuff because let's be honest, the Giants did not put a lot of talent around Eli or Tom Coughlin towards the end of their tenures with the Giants there.
No.
So
it was like OBJ and out.
As far as I'm concerned, point blank, he should be in the Hall of Fame and should have already been in the Hall of Fame. This is not his first year. So shame on you, Ken, for not seeing the talent in Tom Coughlin. Point blank. Shame on you. And we're about to talk about another Giant in a minute that all should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way, in Carl Banks. There's a couple of Giants go in there, by the way, and say that about. So, and we have a lot of Giants in the Hall. Like we have more people, obviously, the most because we've been around for 100 years, and we've had pretty good runs in our franchise. We've had pretty bad ones too, like this one, but some pretty good runs. But yeah, something about Canton. There's a few people that just for some reason they just do not like him, and Tom Coughlin seems to be one of those people. So. Let's talk about the other guy that we said that should be at the Hall of Fame and isn't. And that's Carl Banks, who had a hot mic moment and talked a little bit about Malik Nabers, guys. And, we're talking about Malik Nabers, obviously, last week with the drops issues. Basically saying he doesn't care about drops, just give me the damn ball. Again, paraphrasing, that's not exactly what he said, but that's how it got taken, basically. And it's not far off what he said. That's for damn sure. Here's what he said in post-game coverage when, again, the mic was on. He didn't realize the mic was on. Was talking to Amani Toomer. He said, what's so interesting, too, is that our guys don't value possessions. Even your top pick drops one, crossing route, has it, then he misses it. Then he's on the sideline, which probably should have been an incomplete pass. He just catches. He's lackadaisical, and the guy knocks it out of his hands. I'm like, bro, you're trying to score. Value these possessions. Interesting, I think. And I've always said, I've always been curious to hear what Carl Banks would say about the Giants with no one else listening.
And there you go.
He works for the Giants, keep in mind. Like he does their, radio programs, obviously with Bob Papa. He does a lot of different things with them. He's one of the guys they always bring back for, any ex-Giant events and stuff like that. Obviously well respected in the brand, and he respects the brand very much as well. But off the tape, off the record, he has opinions he would never say, and that seems to be one because I haven't heard him say something like that before. Now, does he get angry in general with the team? Yes. But he singles out Malik Nabers basically and talks about it. And, it's been a great year overall for a rookie year for Malik Nabers, but it's been a frustrating year, both from the standpoint of the Giants losing so many games, which obviously he's not used to, and also the fact that, let's be honest, he's had extremely bad quarterback play around him. He's had extremely bad play calling around him. So.
Yes. And it's almost unfair to Malik, and vice versa to the situation. Like you look at a guy that could be something super special. He's shown a lot of clips of how great this guy could be, and then you just don't throw him the ball for a first half in a game.
Yeah, that's the very last game he was in. Yeah.
So it's like. Did you talk about how great this player is going to be and how much of a difference maker he's going to be as a coach staff? Then you also don't utilize him the way you should.
Yep.
And it's not just the last game. There's definitely different games where he's.
Oh yeah. But I'm saying that one because you mentioned the quote. Yeah. Like he's pretty pissed about that, and I don't blame him. Point blank. This is a frustrating year for Nabers, that's for sure. But like I said, I thought it was interesting because I don't think that's not something you would hear out of Banks' mouth there. You should try to keep a little more positive.
He's very conservative.
Again, he works for the brand.
Yeah.
Can't exactly say whatever he wants. Same as you or I couldn't publicly say things about where we work for and say things that, would not come off as a positive light for the company we work for.
Correct.
That would not be good for either of us, and obviously wouldn't be for him either. So, like I said, interesting comments though, and I like the fact that he's calling out basically energy and calling out the fact that there's things he's not doing that he could do better with just effort. That's all it is. I'm curious to see how Nabers responds, And I don't mean publicly, I mean on the field. Because he has dropped a lot of balls, guys. You know, it's just something we gotta figure out there. And he's got to be schemed open better, yes. He's got to also get a better quarterback playing with him, yes. You know, but we'll see what happens there. I'm curious to see what he does this year coming out there. While KTS Soulboy 621 says Brian Thomas better stats than Malik with Mac Jones. Malik is a good possession wide receiver. I would say, and I'm probably going to get hit for saying this by somebody, Mac Jones might be a better quarterback than anybody we have on the roster right now. I hate to say it. Like, I know Mac Jones is not good. Don't get me wrong, but that's there's issues there. Plus, if you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, they do have better offensive talent and better scheming. As much as Doug Peterson may not be the best head coach in the world, he's a good offensive mind. And that's a big part of it right now. Is while Dable's been a good offensive mind overall with the Bills, again, the other spots not so good there. I just, like I said, I look at what's going on and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how much these issues are Nabers and how much these issues are just the team overall with Nabers. Sometimes a little oil and vinegar kind of situation there.
Touche.
So, we also get another comment here from G-Men saying, hello, I am new here. Just found your page and just watched a couple of your last vids. Love the content. Definitely going to subscribe. We'll see how these next 5 games play out. Appreciate it, G-Men. And definitely the subscribe button, by the way, because
yeah,
we're on a roll here trying to get as many subscribers as possible here so that way YouTube hands us money. We like money. We need 182 more, guys. So if you're watching, you haven't subscribed, please feel free to go ahead and hit that subscribe button there. But only
please.
We want to do it. We want to do it naturally. We don't want BS subscribers. I can easily pay for subscribers like some other people do, but we're not going that route.
Nope.
We're the legit route. We want people that actually watch the show. So, all right, let's get into our next topic here, and it's Nabers again, because Slayton has a lot of advice here for Nabers. Apparently, it also includes posing based on the picture because those two were in the same exact position. So let's get into the
Superman.
Slayton says it says about Nabers, and this was comments off of Monday, by the way, with the press. He said it's a culture shock, definitely coming from the SEC. I understand. For him, you come from a big time conference, a big time program like LSU, and you're used to winning. You're used to going out there every Saturday. And he was going up and down the field and having his way out there. That's definitely not how this year went for our team. Obviously, we haven't won a lot, but it's very similar for me, my rookie year. I came from a very competitive program. We won 4 games my rookie year. Hopefully we win more than that this year, but it's just part of it. It's something he'll as he goes through it, he'll learn how to navigate it. The main thing is whenever the season does end, to having that as your first year, allow that to motivate you going forward in your career, coming into the following years, and not wanting it to remain the same and trying to do your best to change it going forward. I think it comes to the right place. I think it's kind of the mentality you have to some degree. If you do drop one, you can't sit there and let one drop turn into 5 because you're so worried about dropping one. Which, by the way, anybody else notice the irony of Darius Slayton giving advice about drops? It's just out there.
I was literally about to call that out.
Yeah, I just say it. And he says you got to get back up there and go attack the ball with the same amount of aggression the second time around. So I think it comes from the right place. At the same time, that is our job, is to catch the ball when it comes our way. So he obviously knows he has to make some of these plays. But at the end of the day, Malik has good hands. He's obviously a first-round receiver and a top receiver in college, but because he can catch the ball. So I think he has a ton of confidence. Obviously, that's what that exudes when you make a statement like that. I think it comes from the right place. But at the same time, you have to also do your best to not drop the ball, which obviously I wouldn't know. Which, by the way, he's like, hey, that's at the end. Say that about dropping the ball. Listen, guys, that is. People wonder why I'm so hell bent on keeping Darius Slayton on this roster. Exhibit A, right? That exhibit freaking A, B, and C and D. Like, first off, solid guy that gets 700 yards a year, no matter what. Just somehow does it. No matter what, like he'll have seasons where he doesn't even play the first 4 games, still hit 700 yards. He'll have, seasons where he plays all year long, still gets 700 yards. It's almost like we should just save him for the last 3 games. Let him have 200 plus monster yard games basically for 3 games. He just does it. That's
mathematically, it just happens.
It's the weirdest thing. But beyond the fact that he actually has talent, this is exactly what we need here. This is a statement of leadership, folks. Point blank. He said what he said. He said it in a way to kind of, not attack Nabers, but kind of correct him. Like, dude, you shouldn't be saying that. But then shows him support at the same exact time.
And then throws himself on the bus to show, hey, I was there too.
Damn straight. Damn straight.
And that's hey, listen, don't say that. I get it. You should be saying that at the same time. But you need to learn from your mistakes. I did. Exhibit A.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is I think as well crafted a message, and for what seemed like to not be anything, by the way, rehearsed. It seemed to be a genuine, here's a question, what's your answer kind of scenario. I didn't see the video of it, but that's the gist I got from what I read on it there. So if that's something he came off top of his head, again, it just solidifies what I've always thought about Darius Slayton. He's a good guy, he's a solid player, and he's a hell of a teammate. And guys, if we can't find room for him on our roster next year, there's something wrong with the Giants beyond what we already know, which is a lot of things.
Yeah. So at least there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah. Like I said, classic advice there. Like I said, correcting him. Yes, drops are important. Stop being an idiot. But we understand you're frustrated. We understand that you need that mentality, that dog mentality to keep going. Oh, yeah. And by the way, I used to drop the ball a lot too.
Yeah.
As good as it gets. How many times have you and I sat here with a comment and gone, I would have said it this way? I feel like almost every comment that people get knocked for, including Nabers with his comments he said on Sunday.
Yeah. And this is almost pitch perfect. How he's doing it. This legit sounds like off the cuff. Hey, this is why I gotta keep saying, because it's just straight up. He's a straight shooter.
Yep.
People, you get some people out there upset that he defends. He defended DJ. He defended other players on the team. It's what a leader does.
Damn straight.
So
Darius Slayton for 2025. All right. Let's get into the topic we promised you guys here that I know a lot of people tuned in to see specifically here is the topic of head coaching candidates. So, guys, listen, we've already said it before. We want Dable gone. We've lost all faith in him and Shane both, basically. It's time to move on. But you got to have someone to move on from. Move on to. So we're going to give you guys a list of our potentials to replace Brian Dable this offseason. Now, again, things can change between now and then. We'll see who actually is available if and when the Giants do make a move, because obviously Rob and I, we don't make that call. We wish we did. We already made it. We'd have head coach Mike Kafka for the rest of the season right now. But we'll have to see what they do. But if they make this move, we have 5 guys here, and not the ones making burgers, but 5 guys that we think are spectacular.
Snap burgers and fries? I'm out.
Listen, I would love a 5 Guys burger and fries right now. There's one actually not far from my house. They are freaking amazing.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
God.
That's about simple.
5 Guys burgers and fries if you're need a sponsor.
Let's go.
Sponsor us.
Let's go to the first one here with Bill Belichick, who's the biggest name that people
Father Time himself.
Yeah, it's always mentioned because again, we all know Bill Belichick has a love for this franchise. He obviously tasted his first, major successes as a Giant when he was a defensive coordinator under Bill Parcells and got 2 rings as an assistant. Obviously that was what started his head coaching, jobs after that when he was the head coach for the Browns for a few years after that. And this is a guy, again, head coach for the Patriots from 20 to 23. So 24 years, guys, almost a quarter of a century as their head coach. Like that's absolutely insane. Think about it this way. I just graduated high school when he was the coach of the Giants. I'm sorry, coach of the Patriots. Because I graduated in 2020. 2020 in 2000. Sorry. So I just
say, Drew.
yeah,
Wait.
I wish I
What?
graduated in 2020. I'm 22 years old, guys. Don't drink and smoke. This is what you look like then. But anyway, so in 2000, he became the Patriots head coach. I had just graduated high school at this point. Like that was like what he was actually named head coach while I was still in high school technically. And this was the first year this year that he's not a head coach for the Patriots. And I'm 42 now. Like that's ridiculous. That's longevity you don't hear about in modern day football whatsoever. So, so prior to that, he was the Jets defensive coordinator from 97 to 99 under Parcells. Obviously, they had some pretty good success there. He was the defensive backs coach for the Patriots in 96 at the very end of Parcells' time as head coach there. He was the Browns head coach, as we said, from 91 to 95. Giants coach from 97. From 80. Well, hold on one second. What happened?
Oh, what are we doing?
Woo! I got to look over my notes better. It looks like 79. I'm reversed it. I'm like 97. Wait a minute. 1979 to 1990, including being defensive coordinator from 85 to 90. He started coaching the NFL back in 1975, guys. Think about that. He's about to hit 50 years in the NFL if he coaches next year. That's insane. It's half a century in the NFL. You don't hear about that ever, except for once
ever
moon kind of guys. Well, yeah, like
ever
Don Shula, that's Chuck Noll. Like there's some guys who did for quite a long time, but that's ridiculous, guys. 6-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time AP NFL Coach of the Year, member of the 2000s and 2010s NFL All-Decade Team. Was part of the NFL's 100th anniversary all-time team. Owns the NFL record for most Super Bowl wins. Most Super Bowl wins as head coach. Most Super Bowl appearances. Most Super Bowl appearances as head coach. Most Super Bowl appearances overall. Most playoff appearances as a head coach. Most divisional championships as a head coach. Has a record of 302 and 165 right now, guys. You cannot find a better person resume-wise.
No, and listen, if you're 66%, 2/3 of your football career is winning, like,
yep,
you take that, because especially like the NFL is not an easy league. Like,
no.
If you're just above 500, if you're just like 55%, like you're typically known as a good coach.
Yep,
because
there's just parity.
Yeah, exactly.
And they had a quarter century of dominance.
Yeah, where he adapted to gameplay, and like you said, NFL loves parity. So you learn the parity, and you just already know what you're going to do to counteract the parity that's going to come around to you.
Yep.
And this is what this guy did for the
long time,
better half of a quarter century to, yeah. I mean, you can say a little over, of a quarter century, because he was head coach for 30 years, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if you asked him sum up how long he was an NFL coach for in a Billy Joel song, he would say, "Whoa, oh, for the longest time." Like, this man's been around forever, guys. And again,
he also with the fire. It was always burning. He didn't start the fire. It was always burning.
Oh gosh. Stop being an uptown girl. Anyway, but again, the best resume you will get across your desk basically for a potential head coach. And here's the crazy part. What I'm about to say. I don't want him.
No. HE? No.
72 years old. That's all you got to hear, guys. He'll be 73 before next year starts. You cannot rebuild a team with a guy who's 73 years old as your head coach, because by the time you're any good, let's be honest, guys, you are not expecting to win a Super Bowl next year. Let's be very frank and honest about it. If you're going to rebuild, which we're going to have to, it's going to take a couple years probably to do anything decent. Like, we're not going to turn around and go from the worst team in the NFL to the best team overnight. It's not going to happen. So 73. So you're going to be what, 76, 77 by the time we're actually,
and his girlfriend's going to be
really
24 years old.
Things go well. Can't do that, guys.
But his girlfriend will be 24. You're right. She's going to be 25. I apologize.
I think she's 25 now, but that's a whole separate issue. I'm not going to knock him for that, because if I was 72 and I was single and I got a chance to get a 25-year-old, I'm going for it.
It's amazing. Her father's probably a Bill Belichick fan and asked for an autograph.
That'd be a really weird introduction. But
yeah,
like I said,
guess who I'm dating is Sky. He's been in the NFL for a long ever.
But again, we've said on the show before, the role that I want for Bill Belichick is to be like we talked about with Coughlin before. A guy who's a VP of operations at that point. A guy who can go in, clean house, get rid of the people that Maris kept around way too damn long, give honest assessments of things, and then go hire a head coach and a GM that he approves of, obviously, because it's his job. I don't want him near draft boards. I do not like the last 5 or 6 drafts he had, basically. I have to look at the exact number, see how long Bark were going, but it just felt like he wasn't good at drafting anymore for whatever reason. And I also want nothing to do with him as a head coach, because, again, I want continuity, and he's not going to be around for a while because of the age. Now, the only way I would be okay with him being a head coach is one way. One way and one way only. If he came as a head coach with a clear plan of action of, I'm going to retire at this point, and this is the person who's going to take over when I'm done. Even then, I wouldn't be.
I don't even know.
I'd be okay with that plan like that.
I don't even know. You're saying, like, all right, I'm going to come in. I'm going to hire XYZ as my defensive coordinator, XYZ as my head offensive coordinator, and one of these guys are going to take over. I don't know yet. You got 2 years of me. Let's see what we can do and who gets hired.
No. I'm saying I want a clear cut. Like, this is my assistant head coach. He's going to take over when I'm done.
No.
But I also, it can't be Matt Patricia, it can't be Joe Judge, and it can't be Josh McDaniels. That's also part of that. I'm just saying, like that's
3 is really bad, because that's
no Charlie Weiss, no Romeo Cornell, no.
Yeah.
Like none of the guys we've already seen off that tree, because they just don't work. It is what it is. Like, you got to be honest about it. So, like I said, that's a no for me. Sounds like a no from you as well, Bob. Bob.
Bob, jeez, where? Who's Bob?
Who are you again? Leave me alone. Anyway. Next up, guys, we have a Bill Belichick disciple in a certain way. Now, he's got success, though, and that's because he was a player for Parcells, never a coach. Because, again, the Parcells tree has not been successful at all. But this guy is kind of like more of a root than a branch of that tree. And that's Mike Vrabel, who I'm still shocked to not get a head coaching job this offseason, which makes me think he's going to be pretty picky. And he's waiting for the right opportunity. And again, I have told you guys on this show nonstop, this is a place people will want to go, assuming we continue losing like I think we're going to. You're going to go in with a top pick quarterback. You're going to go in with the best rookie running back, the best rookie wide receiver. You're going to go in with a line that before injuries showed a lot of improvement. You're going to go in with the defense that has been playing at least average with the worst offense in the league, which just tells you if the offense was even somewhat good, this defense would be above average, probably.
100%. We talked about it before. Like, even so, the offensive line, too. Like, you literally took this year, the offensive line that was ranked, 29th last year, maybe 31st last year. You took it to 15 before injury.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think this is as bad a place for people to want to be a head coach at. Really, I think, and then you throw in the market. Having success in New York allows you to be a figurehead in that city for the rest of your life. There are people who won championships that can basically do whatever the hell they want. They could piss in the goddamn Statue of Liberty, and nobody would say a damn thing.
They will, and they'll forget it. They're like,
Joe Torre. Joe Torre could do whatever he wants in the city of New York. Nobody would stop him. Point blank. Look how loved Bill Parcells still is. And let's be honest, Bill Parcells rubbed a lot of people the wrong way over the years. But he is absolutely beloved in the city of New York. Also because he did both the Jets and the Giants. It probably helps his cause a little bit too. But the guy is absolutely beloved. You know, Tom Coughlin, we talked about him earlier in the show. Tom Coughlin is looked down as like a saint right now within the Giants organization, especially for how they basically forced his way out and stuff like that after he won 2 Super Bowls, this team, you know? Like I said, you go back and you look at guys like Eli Manning, you know, Lawrence Taylor. If you win in New York, there is just something about that you are secure for the rest of your life. Look at Rex Ryan, the guy parlayed getting 2 AFC championship games to a 10-year career now in ESPN?
Yeah. Looking
creepier and creepier by the year, by the way. Whoever the hell his plastic surgeon is, please stop. He's looking more like Jack Nicklaus and Batman. I'm just saying.
I was going to say, stop raising out of that.
Eyebrow. Like, this is what I think. Like, whoa, what's going on there, dude? Who did that?
That's what I really think here.
APP and whoever the hell did that to you, man. But Mike Vrabel is a guy that I feel like could go into this city, go in with a certain amount of authority, because you need some of the strong personality, a lot of authority in their personality to go ahead and right the ship, I think. This is a guy that can do just that. He's also still just 49 years old, so he's a guy that could be around for a while, unlike Belichick there. He's currently the Browns coaching and personnel consultant. He was obviously the Titans head coach from 18 to 23, Texans defensive coordinator in 17, their linebackers coach 14, 15, and 16, and was a position coach for the Ohio State Buckeyes from 11 to 13. This guy was the 2021 NFL Coach of the Year. He's got a 54-45 record as head coach of the Tennessee Titans there at this time there. Now, let me just say, I know they're going through a rebuild. Don't get me wrong. I know the Titans are going through a rebuild. I don't try to front on that part of it there. Let's look at what they did. Okay. 6-11 last year during this rebuild. And again, I know that was a bad year for them. 7-10 was their record the year before that. So not great. Before that, though, keep in mind, got there in 2018. 12-5, 11-5, 9-7, 9-7. Not too shabby. Now, can you blame him for not winning a lot during a rebuild? I don't think that's very fair. This team was rebuilding. Tannehill was getting older, was never that great to begin with. Derrick Henry was getting older. That offensive line was going down. The defense was losing some of its star players as well. The roster was getting down. They lost A.J. Brown in the trade. A really stupid move, you know. And look at them this year. They're as bad as the Giants. They lose Vrabel. They go from a 6 or 7 win team to now a 3-win team.
Yeah.
I mean, they can go to a winning streak and maybe match the 6 or 7, but I mean, just saying, I don't see that happening. Not with Will Levis, the Mayo guy. And, you know, you look at this roster.
It's a Mayo guy.
This roster is a bad roster. And the biggest issue Mike Vrabel had and why they made a decision to change it, from all you heard, was Mike Vrabel was upset about the way the roster was being built. He was not getting along with the GM because he disagreed with a lot of the moves he was making. And guys, like,
I'm okay with that.
Maybe that's what is okay, you know. And listen, he never had the greatest team, but he had a competent team. He had a team that consistently won, and he had a team that consistently, you know, got into the playoffs.
I was going to say,
all with Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback, guys.
He took a team that couldn't make the playoffs, didn't make the playoffs for years. It was sub 500 for a long time, and took them to the playoffs how many times?
Yeah.
Division winners. Brent wasn't, the strongest division.
No, that's definitely safe to say.
It was the strongest division, but
it wasn't necessarily the worst teams in the world in that division either.
Yeah.
A lot of times there was a lot of average teams.
And it's also safe to say, like, that division's always played each other very, very tough.
Yes.
So, and he went on to dominate that division. And, like, as a head coach, I want to see dominance in your division. And that gets underlooked a lot. And we don't even talk about that much. Like, we talk about us losing to our division.
Talk about dominance very often in general as a Giants guest.
No, but I'm just saying, like, as a head coach, you want your team to beat up on its division. Like, that's what you want from your football team. Like, granted, you want more than just the 6 wins you could get from your division, but you want someone that could, if you get 6 wins from your division and go 500 with the rest of the league, like, you're okay. You got over 10 wins. Like, you're sitting pretty.
And Benji says went to the AFC Championship too. Exactly, he had some success in the playoffs. There's not the ring. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, but he's got some success. Dope Des 1967 says Mike Vrabel's defense sucked. We have his old old defensive coordinator. When you remember his Titans, do you think of the defense or offense? Honestly, first off, did his defenses suck? Because all I care about is points per game. Honestly, I could not care less how many damn yards you give up. All I care about is points. That's it. And his defenses always stop teams from putting points up on a regular basis. Did it have an elite defense, a top 1, top 2, 3, 4? No. But he consistently had a top 10 defense from everything I remember of those Titans. And the offense did just enough, obviously, having an old school smash mouth style with Derrick Henry, and having Ryan Tannehill do just enough at that point there. Like I said, I can't look at the Titans defenses and say they were bad. That's I mean, I can look see there's a stat on that. But it's going to be a little hard to find that potentially there real quick for you guys. Let's see here. So here we go. 2000 and here we go. I got 2019 and onward. So 19 they got 20.7 points per game. That's not bad. 20 was a year off, 27.4. By the way, they went 11-5 that year, so didn't hurt them that bad. Titans in 21, 20.8, 22, 21.1, 23, 21.6. Oh, yeah, and they're giving up 27.7 this year now with Bowen and Vrabel being gone. So, yeah, like I said, and don't have his first year stats because they only gave the last 6 years. But that's 4 of the 5 years that we're talking about there. He had defenses that allowed under 22 points a game, meaning his defense gave them a chance to win consistently. I have no problem with that whatsoever. And again, all I care about in the end is record. I don't care about anything else but record. If I'm going to judge the defense alone, though, that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to judge it based on what they did, points per game. And it wasn't bad. So,
yeah. And he's coming into a lot better player-wise, a lot better system.
I hope so. Yeah. But he's got a coordinator there. He already likes him. He wants him. So, like I said, I think it's not a bad spot because, again, he comes in with experience. And I don't want to I know we're going to talk about some people here soon that would be first-time head coaches. I'm not so sure I want a first-time head coach. I think we need a legit adult in the room now at this point.
You have to. At this point,
might be an adult in the room, but I don't know that. I want more of a known commodity. I'm tired of freaking losing.
Listen, you take that gamble if you're like Seattle a couple years ago, last year. You give up on a guy that's been dominant in this league for years. You can go ahead and give up on someone that's a veteran and you think could be a star up and coming defensive or offensive coordinator. You could take that chance. But when you're a subpar team for, let's just say how it is, like subpar team for almost 10 years at this point, decade.
Yep.
You need someone to grab the bull by the horns and just say, no, 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 yes, no, yes, yes, no.
No.
Let's go. Like you don't want to put this, you don't want to prolong the suffering of the fans of having a lackluster season again.
I don't want someone learning on the job.
No, you want someone that knows what they're doing. It's got some experience, but like maybe like Vrabel, like you said, like he's already had the position. Like, all right, he may have he did good where he was at, but he also learned different things that you don't know until you get into the job. Like, all right, maybe I tried this. Now he goes, no, this is not how we do it. This is what we're going to do. And like going into like a second time, head coach might be the guy that you want.
It's also learning to delegate to your assistant coaches, which is, I think, a big issue that Brian Daboll has, because he thinks that he's the best at everything. And that's what he goes to do now. I have to call the plays because this happened. Okay, I gave it back to those mistakes too much. Oh, I have to call the plays again. Like,
delegation goes a long way. And like some people like knock it, like as leaders, some people knock it, but like, and some people that don't understand what leadership is, they knock delegation. But like, it's a very important thing. There's only so much one person can do. And like, yes, there are leaders that over delegate and like don't do anything and looks lazy.
Stop looking at
me. But you have to trust your chain of command.
Yep.
It goes a long way.
You gotta.
Your chain of command has to go down and up with trust.
Exactly. So let's talk about some first-time potential rookie head coaches next year. There,
like BJ.
Very first one we have. Yes, his initials are BJ, and it's Ben Johnson, who's been. I feel like this is like year 17 that we're talking about him as a potential head coach in this league. He's been ever since he's basically been a head offensive coordinator for the Lions here. He's been talked about as a potential guy to be a head coach. 38 years old too, so still very young. We got a couple of young guys in this group, actually. Some guys that are younger than me even, which is, not saying a lot. I'm kind of old, but for a head coaching candidate, that's saying a lot.
I know some dirt older than you, man, or younger than you.
Damn, that's messed up. Anyway, offensive coordinator for the Lions since 22, the passing game coordinator in 21, tight ends coach from 20 and 21 for the Lions as well, offensive quality control coach for the Lions in 19. He was a Dolphins assistant head coach. Was the Dolphins assistant coach. Did a lot of different jobs with them from 12 to 18. Was the tight ends coach for Boston College in 11. And a graduate assistant in 2009 and 2010 at Boston College as well. And let's be honest, the thing he's mostly known for is fixing Jared Goff. That's what I feel like he's got credit for. And I say fixing Jared Goff because, to be very frank, I don't think he fixed Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff getting away from Sean McVay fixed him.
Yeah.
Sean McVay, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to knock him as a head coach right now. I don't mean it that way. And we've all had it sometimes where there's a boss that may know what he's doing, but you just don't get along with, it just doesn't work out. That's what I feel like was Sean McVay and Jared Goff. And like the second he got away from Sean McVay, he gained a little more confidence back. He started fixing some of the issues and became a good quarterback again. Now, did Ben Johnson have a hand in that? Absolutely. I'm not trying to take everything away from him. But same as like we talk about Brian Daboll and Josh Allen, like people had this idea that, oh, this quarterback's sort of playing better here. Must be this coach. Like, no, sometimes it's just the player got out of a bad scenario. Sometimes it's the player just happened to all of a sudden snapped and he figured something out. It's not always the coach that does it. Let's stop giving credit to the coaches for everything and not giving the players some damn credit for what they do.
Yeah, listen, the players are actually the one throwing the ball. They're actually the one making the decisions.
Usually.
There's definitely public quarterbacks. There's definitely, quarterbacks that just fit systems, and that's what they do. Like, look at you, Matt Castle. Look at you,
Worst analogy. Matt Castle is definitely that guy. That's for sure. So,
but I'm just saying, you look at different schemes, and you look at it like Goff, right? Like, there's also different scenarios where you just don't fit a system and how people want you to operate. And
yeah,
I mean, the best case scenario in modern day football is like Geno Smith. Like, he's just playing better with his staff. He still got the talent. Like, it was there. He was making terrible decisions 10 years prior to going to Seattle, but like, he's making good decisions. Or better yet, of recent memory, like look at the Chargers who had Drew Brees on their roster, who no one recalls as a Charger, but had a great career as a New York, as a Saint.
Wish New York Giant. Well, actually, I don't, because we lose Eli then, but still, it would be nice to see him after Eli retired, maybe. But maybe for a year or two. But yeah, I mean, there's like there's variables too. Now here's the Lions' offense this year. By the way, this is why they get the credit. He's getting the credit he gets. First in the NFL at 31.9 yards points per game. Second in the NFL at 395.2 yards per game. They are fourth in the NFL in third down conversion. They are sixth in the NFL at red zone scoring, eighth at yards per carry, fourth at rushing yards per game. They are first in the league at yards per pass, fifth in passing yards per game, while, by the way, 27th in the league in number of passes thrown per game. That's pretty damn amazing, that stat right there, you know?
Yep. Deep ball.
So, yeah, like I said,
wide.
This is an offense that is basically clicking on every goddamn cylinder. And I'm not going to say it's not Ben Johnson. It's my personal opinion. Just from things I saw when he was in LA, that McVay and Goff were not a good mix. And getting him out of there was the best thing for him in his career. And I think I don't think it's a hate thing. I don't think they hate each other whatsoever. But you could tell that Sean McVay felt that he couldn't win a ring with Jared Goff and wanted to move past him. And if we could tell that, we're not in the damn building with him. Don't tell me Jared Goff couldn't figure that out.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm sure Ben Johnson had a hand in it. I just don't know if it was like a large hand or a little tiny hand or just the pinky, or I don't know.
Jared, just breathe. Take 2 extra breaths, then throw the ball. Find your zen.
But again, this is the guy now coming in with no head coaching experience whatsoever. Now, beyond at the at the NFL level, he was never a head coach in any level that I can find. I don't see him be head coach of a Pop Warner team even. I mean, like, that's something that concerns me. Again, I talked about I want a guy with some experience. Now, Ben Johnson, I guarantee you, will make his rounds this year because he's made it the last couple of years. He's very picky about where he goes. And he's had a lot of options, including options of people that now have had success where they've gone there, like Dan Quinn going to Washington comes to mind from last year. Ben Johnson was a top candidate for that job. He turned it down. So it makes me wonder, is he not sure of himself? Is he not confident in his own abilities? And if you're
which you're leaning on something, or does he want to go somewhere that's established already, where he doesn't have to
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Those jobs don't appear. Not very often.
Not often. Does happen, but not often. Sometimes you got a team that's a playoff team, but they never find it, past the first round of playoffs, or right there. Yeah. You pick up a job like that.
Example.
Yeah. And you get yourself a job like that. That's like, he could be waiting for something like that.
Yeah. They don't happen all the time. Sometimes you just got to take your shot, especially when you have a shot for a place that's got a quarterback coming out of the draft. It's going to be a top quality guy that you're going to have a say in who you pick. That's why Washington was honestly the place for him to go last year. He should have gone there probably. He might not get another chance to do something like that again. We'll find out. Next candidate. Another youngin. Liam Coen. And don't let the Rams hat fool you. He is the offensive coordinator, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So you probably heard, if you watched the horrendous game we had with the Bucs there a couple weeks ago, you probably heard his name being thrown around a lot during that game. They talked about the fact that he was going to be a head coaching candidate this offseason, and he definitely will. He definitely will. And guys, I'm not. This is another guy that I don't know. I don't see it. I really don't. Has he had success? Yes. Is he coming from a team that also had success last year? Yes. So we'll get into that in a second. Let's give you the quick resume, though. Bucks offensive coordinator this year was the OC for Kentucky last year, was the OC for the Rams in 22, was the OC and quarterbacks coach for the for Kentucky in 21, was a Rams assistant 18 to 20, was the offensive coordinator at Maine 16 and 17, and had various college jobs 2010 to 2013 there. He has never been a guy you looked at as a head coach candidate until this year, because of the job that he's doing with the Buccaneers, who are an amazing top 5 offense. The Baker Mayfield is having just an amazing season, building on what he did last year with the Bucs, which was very good as well. But I also look at it as, here's a guy who came into a decent situation. Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator last year, got this offense going. The one thing he couldn't really get going was a run game. Well, they drafted Bucky Irving, and all of a sudden they have a running game. So that helps the pass, obviously, as well. So Coen gets credit for having a very good offense this year. But I don't know how much of that is him and how much of that is the fact that they got a running game going finally when they didn't have it last year, because they drafted a rookie who is probably the second best rookie running back this year, only to our Tyrone Tracy Jr. And to be very frank with you, someone could say he's better, and I wouldn't sit there and say you're crazy. I don't think they're right, but I wouldn't sit there and say they're crazy for that opinion.
No, especially because, early in the year, you had a healthy Godwin, you had a healthy Evans, and then you dealt with some injuries. That's the only thing you could argue there. It's like, did he help it better? Like, you're dealing with some injuries, wide receiver.
Godwin.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Godwin went after. There's talk, so he possibly might make it for the playoffs.
Okay. We'll see.
Possibly. Probably not. It might still be dislocated. Who knows? But it's a possibility. But, he's making the most of the receivers he has there.
Yep.
But he also has, I'm not going to say top tier, but, top half quarterback play. Yep. You still got one of the best who's at the wide receiver game, who's back at it.
Well, he's trying to break a record owned by Jerry Rice, guys. That just tells you everything you need to know about how good he is.
Yeah, super underrated. And Godwin was just one of the best Batmans. He's the Nightwing of the Batmans, if you will.
Yeah,
he'd probably run his own show.
He'd be a Batman. I say he'd be a Batman anywhere else he went. Point blank.
Yeah, 100%. So he's. Yeah, and you dealt with these injuries, and you actually won a couple games with both these guys out.
Yeah.
So
now, what I think will happen this offseason, if the Giants do make this move and cut Brian Daboll, and they're interested at all in Liam Coen, I think there's one man that they would go ahead and talk to about Coen very specifically. And it's a current player for the Tampa Bay Bucks on offense, Mr. Sterling Shepard, who the Giants have the utmost respect for. His name is gold in that building. And I really do think a lot of it would be determined on how they think he could handle that kind of job. And you don't know that unless you've been in the huddle with this guy like that. I mean, not that he's a player, but you know what I mean? Like being in the practice rooms, see what he does on a daily basis. Sterling Shepard has seen that. Oh. And how ironic would it be that Sterling Shepard leaves the Giants and then helps the Giants find the next head coach?
Really funny.
Yeah. Like I said, to me, I feel like this is the guy that's kind of a dark horse candidate, because I don't think he has the flashy name like Ben Johnson has. He doesn't have the experience that Mike Vrabel and Bill Belichick have. But he's a guy that there's a lot of respect for him all around the league on everything he's done. He comes from the Sean McVay tree, which a lot of people have respect for. He obviously was a guy who's dominated as an offensive coordinator now at college and NFL level. But the big question mark again is the lack of lack of the experience as a head coach. As James Hollister says, Shepard wouldn't even pick up what the Giants call it funny. No, That's so far from the truth. It's not even funny, James. I'm telling you right now. Trust me when I say this. The Giants and Shepard are still on very good terms. When the time comes, Shepard has a job point blank in that front office when it's done. The truth. Whatever he wants to do. He wants to do a job in scouting. If he wants to do a job as, in media with them. If he wants to have a job as a guy to help with, some kind of front office position. I'm telling you, whatever he wants, if it's available, the Giants will give it to him. That's how well respected he is. And he does not dislike the Giants whatsoever. I'm not going to say I know somebody who knows him, but I might know somebody who knows him. Just say that. So, but anyway, like I said, Coen's I think a dark horse candidate. And keep in mind, just because you may want the flashy name, the Ben Johnson, the Mike Vrabels, that doesn't mean you get the flashy name. Remember a couple of coaching searches ago, which wasn't that long ago, but it was a couple of coaching searches ago. We got stuck with Pat Shurmur because nobody else wanted the job. To be honest, we did not want Pat Shurmur at all. Like, he was not the first choice, second choice, third choice. He's who we got because he's who would take the interview.
That worked out well.
Yeah. So, like I said, Liam Coen may not be the first name we talk to. May not be the first name we want. But he's a guy that I would be shocked if the Giants didn't go ahead and, talk to, because this is going to be an interesting spot potentially for him to land, because he's gotten a lot of credit for the increase this year with Baker Mayfield. And let's be honest, we're going to need somebody who can develop a quarterback here. This guy who's got potential to do that. So let's talk about another guy who's got a lot of experience with quarterbacks specifically, kind of well known for what he's done with quarterbacks, especially at the college level. And that's Cliff Kingsbury, current offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. And a guy that point blank is probably one of the most polarizing guys in football at times, because he has gotten a lot of credit by some people. He's gotten a lot of blame by some people, and it's not all wrong, guys. So he has been credited with helping develop Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams. You could say Case Keenum, because he at least had a somewhat decent career at that point there. But he is credited with being part of the development of all those players. That's a lot of current NFL quarterbacks, guys. And now you got Jaden Daniels you're going to throw in the mix, who is having one of the, had a little bit of a rough stretch the last couple of games, but overall has the best rookie season at quarterback of the year. If it wasn't for the great year with C.J. Stroud last year, to say probably one of the better quarterbacks rookie seasons you've seen in a while.
You still say that. After that, but
you say that now instead of C.J. Stroud. Like they automatically that went up from last year, but you take that out of the equation. This is one of the best rookie seasons for a quarterback in a little while now. And again, Cliff Kingsbury is the guy. And I just, I think people look at what happened in Arizona, and that's the main thing people have trouble getting over there. So here's the resume again: offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders currently. Which, by the way, if we did hire him, I would love to just hurt a divisional rival like that.
100%. I was going to say
that's one really nice benefit.
Yeah.
USC senior offensive assistant in 23, Cardinals head coach 19 to 22, Texas Tech head coach 13 to 18, Texas A&M OC and quarterback coach in 2012, and assistant over at Houston from 08 to 2011. So guy's been around a little while there. He's got some coaching experience, which is one thing I find interesting with him as well. He's a guy that what you kind of get into a certain degree with him. But again, he wasn't exactly the best guy overall as a head coach. You can't sit there and say he had tons of success as a head coach. So there's pros and there's cons. But the most important thing, guys, is we need a guy who can develop a quarterback. And this is a guy with a track record of developing a quarterback. Now, you could sit there and say, did he develop a quarterback in Arizona? We had Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray's definitely got limitations. But let's be very frank, guys. Who would not take Kyler Murray on this Giants team right now? Would he be your first choice, second choice, third choice? No. But you tell me right now you wouldn't take Kyler Murray over DeVito, Locke, or Jones? I'll include Jones even though he's gone for this year, but I'm saying the guys we had this year. Of course you would take him over them in a heartbeat. You know, he's at least an average quarterback in this league, which is not great. I get it, but it could be a whole lot worse. Doesn't mean I want the Giants to have an average quarterback, whoever we get as a head coach. But this is a guy who's got a track record of developing. Again, the guys I mentioned here. Would you take Johnny Manziel? No, of course not. Would you take Baker Mayfield? Of course you would. Would you take Patrick Mahomes? Of course you would. Would you take Kyler Murray over who we have right now? Of course you would. Would you take Caleb Williams? Of course you would. I'm just saying, like, that's where we're at there. You know, would you take Jaden Daniels? Of course you would. This is a guy that, like I said, at the most important position has a good track record. I think the big thing would be if we were to go and get a guy like this, Cliff Kingsbury. I would want somebody on a staff that has a lot of experience as a head coach, maybe an older, former head coach that can help him out with some of the things he might have had trouble with in Arizona. And you have to do your homework to find out exactly what those issues were. I don't pretend to be a guy with the inside on the Arizona Cardinals room, but find out what the issues were. Get a guy in there that can help him fix it, and also get a very strong defensive coordinator, kind of like we did when we got Wake Martindale for Brian Dable. Obviously, that didn't work out long term, but it helped take something off of Dable's shoulders, so he let Wake Martindale take care of the defense side of the ball. So, like I said, an interesting potential candidate in Cliff Kingsbury. All right, guys, we're going to pay the bills real quick, and then hopefully Rob will be back here just a second, and we'll go ahead and talk about one last guy that we have as a head coach candidate.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, guys. One last person to talk about here. But before we do, if you haven't already, do me a favor. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button there. Like I said, this does help us big time there. Along with also, of course, along with the buymeacoffee.com that we talked about there a second ago in the video. You also have the option if you want to support the show by sending us a super chat on YouTube or stars also on Facebook there. But like I said, guys, we appreciate you guys just for watching. If you want to hit that like and subscribe, that is a free way to help us out there. I can't tell you how many channels that I watch on a regular basis that before I got into this, I would go ahead and just not even hit the subscribe button, not realizing what a difference it makes for these guys that are doing those kind of shows. And now I'm one of those guys. So if you can, hit that subscribe. It helps us out. And like I said, let's get rolling to that last candidate there. And that's Joe Brady. Joe Brady is the last candidate we have to talk about here for the potential new head coach if we were to let go of Brian Dable. And the most intriguing thing about Joe Brady as a potential candidate to be head coach is if we were to keep Joe Schoen, hypothetically, and get rid of Brian Dable. Here's a guy that Joe Schoen did not work at, Buffalo together with. But obviously, Joe Schoen still knows everybody over in Buffalo, and he has quite the chance to go ahead and find out more information on him that he trusts than he does in others. Now, it's up to me. Schoen and Dable are both gone. But
it's the package steal.
But in the scenario where you keep Joe Schoen, which is a potential scenario, everything's potential. We don't know what's going to happen. In that scenario, here's a guy that we could sit there and say, you know what? The Giants might look at this guy with Joe Schoen still there as a guy that Joe Schoen can get scoop on, trust, know what's going on. And, oh, yeah, by the way, Josh Allen, who thrived under Dable, is still thriving under Joe Brady as well. So you can sit there and say, at the very least, Joe Brady was able to keep the success going with Josh Allen, which at least gives him something for his resume. Even though, again, we've already said Josh Allen's the reason, not these coaches. people love to make that jump and
I was going to say, arguably, Josh Allen's having his best year yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's very
you could arguably say Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL currently.
Yeah, especially with the way that Mahomes has been playing this year. That's for sure. Who's, you can
say Mahomes is top 5, but not top 3.
Yeah, the way he's playing. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens in the playoffs. He tends to turn it on. That's all that matters in the end. But here's Joe Brady's resume. So again, he's the offensive coordinator this year. He was the interim offensive coordinator the second half of last year as well. He was the quarterbacks coach in 22 and 23 for the Bills. He was the Panthers offensive coordinator in 20 and 21. He was the passing game coordinator and wide receiver coach for LSU in 2019. I wonder what happened in 2019. Oh, yeah, that's right. Joe Burrow. He was a Saints offensive assistant 17 and 18. He was the Penn State graduate assistant 15 and 16 and linebacker coach at William and Mary 13 to 14. So, got a little bit there. Got a little bit there as far as college and professional with the NFL there. I'm just not so sure about him at all because he failed miserably in Carolina. But it's like, do I blame Carolina? Do I blame him? Do I look at the success that Josh Allen sang and say, well, yeah, Dable, that didn't work out for us. I don't know. Like I'm kind of up in the air on him.
It's also like blaming
Blame it on the rain?
Blame it on the rain. There's definitely good coaches that have gone down to Carolina and have not looked like good coaches because of the organization. Just like there's plenty of coaches that gone and coached for the Browns.
Oh God.
And have not looked good.
Yeah, when you're in that
there's definitely a lot of bad coaches that have gone to the Browns, but there's some good coaches that came out of there. Or Titans. Titans have been, we just talked about Vrabel before. Titans have historically not been a good team overall in the past 3 years. But there's some coaches over there that got,
Yep.
kind of flew under the radar. So you could.
Yeah, I just don't know what to think of his time in the NFL because, like I said, he failed one spot, then he goes somewhere else where he already has a good established, great established quarterback, and he's had success with a great established quarterback. But again, you look at LSU, like he was a hot commodity when he became the offensive coordinator for the Panthers. I remember that. Like he was a hot commodity. Like people were like, oh my God, it's a really great get for them. Look at the success Joe Burrow had with Joe Brady being the offensive, passing game coordinator there. Obviously, wide receivers coach, and they had how many good wide receivers in 19 with the with
well, yeah, I was about to say when you have Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase as your duo, that's not what you can't do.
Your duo. Well, I mean, it's just like I said. To me, it's just a little crazy how the whole thing went. I mean, you had Justin Jefferson, also not just you had Terrence Marshall. Like talk about a trio of receivers at that point there.
Oh my God,
that's legit there, guys. Like that's absolutely legit.
What are you talking about, Drew? He totally made those guys who they were.
And that's what I'm saying. Again, that's the problem you run into. Was what happened? With those guys, was it him or was it guys that had success anywhere? Again, Jamar Chase, success in the NFL. Justin Jefferson, success in the NFL. Terrence Marshall, okay, maybe not, but he was the third receiver. But you also got a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire who had no success whatsoever in Kansas City, and he was looked amazing. And a big part of his game was that passing game there. Again, you look at the quarterbacks. Joe Burrow, obviously, amazing year, 60 goddamn touchdowns, led college football in completion percentage, yards, touchdowns. I mean, absolutely insanity.
I mean, Joe Burrow now, you can still consider him a top 5 quarterback with a terrible record.
Well, because
So,
the
like,
defense, not his fault for the defense, though.
well, that's what I'm saying. But like, that's how good of a player that Brady had behind, like in front of him. Duo.
And that's
like,
why
that's
I'm
what
saying, like, these
I'm
people
trying
have
to validate your
succeeded
point.
without him. These people have succeeded without him.
That's what I'm trying to prove your point. It's like you have a terrible offensive line. You have terrible defense. And Joe Burrow still not only has been playing great football, he's probably a top 3 in the league stat-wise this year thus far.
Yeah. And, James says, who was quarterback with Joe Brady in Carolina? Was it Darnold, Mayfield? It was both.
Yeah.
It was both. I mean, that's I believe so. I'm trying to think. 2021. Let's look it up. 2021 Panthers stats. I'm just going to verify. 22 was that year with Darnold and.
I was about to say 21 was Mayfield, right? And then 22 is.
No. I thought they had both. So Darnold was 21. Okay, Darnold was 21. So, and they also had Cam Newton towards the end of the year. And then you got 2020 was Teddy Bridgewater. So
that guy was fantastic wherever he went.
But you could say Darnold finally had success once he left them and the Jets. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what to think of Joe Brady. There's guys that I have established opinions of. I'm up in the air on Joe Brady. I don't know because I don't know what to think of him because, again, didn't have the best quarterback option really in Carolina. Had no success. Well, the Giants, whoever they hire as a head coach, guys, they're probably not going to have the best quarterback option, at least in the first year, because a rookie quarterback is not a great option. And if we bring somebody in as a veteran to start, it's still not going to be a great option. I can't see, all of a sudden Mahomes demanding a trade to the Giants to be the bridge quarterback for whoever we draft. Like, that's not going to happen either. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that shit.
I'm not going to go there, but I'm just saying, like, that's the kind of chaos that you're going to have there at that point. So here's a guy who didn't succeed without the pieces. I don't know. Like I said, I'm leaning towards no, but I wouldn't be like, oh my God, this is the worst hire ever.
Which also, like, could be argued. Like, we talked about, like, there's quarterbacks that went to Carolina and then left Carolina and had good careers.
Like Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Well, he's good careers, but he's having a good year.
Yeah, touche. Right. They were way more successful after leaving Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, I don't know. And I just don't know what to think overall of him. He's a little bit of an enigma for me. So, guys, let us know in the comments section here, though, who you would want to be our head coach if we were hypothetically to fire Brian Daboll, and let us know what you think of the people we talked about there. Let's get into our last section here, though, tonight before we head on out for the night here, because I know we want to talk about the offseason because this season is basically over. But we do still have to talk about the game coming up there on Sunday with the Saints at the Giants. Now, typically we give you guys a pretty in-depth preview of the games. Let's be honest here, guys. No one wants to do that in depth.
No.
Because we'll be lucky everybody actually even watches the game, to be frank with you, the way the Giants season's going. So we're not going to BS it. We're going to call it out like it is. So we're just going to kind of give you more of the abridged to what we've done. We used to do like half an hour just on pregame. So let's talk about the Giants and Saints here. So the Saints have been basically an average team all year long. That's probably the best way to put it right now.
They came in hot.
Yeah.
They came in hot and just kind of fizzled out.
They're definitely Miley Cyrus fans because they definitely came in like a wrecking ball. But
that's the boys.
23 points per game on offense, 14th best in the league. 23.4 points they're giving up on defense, which is 19th. They have a top 10 rushing team this year. Alvin Kamara had a nice little comeback year for him. 206 carries, 894 yards, 4.3 yards per carry average, 6 touchdowns, along with 59 catches, 450 yards, and 1 touchdown. Doesn't take a genius to figure out. That's about 1,350 yards on offense. And, oh, yeah, by the way, guys, still a lot of games to go. This is a guy that's going to potentially get close to that 2,000-yard year, which is a hollow thing there. That's for sure. Then you got Taysom Hill, obviously the quarterback / tight end / running back / whatever the hell he wants to be.
Utility position.
Yeah, but he tore his ACL. Just did that last week, so he's.
He officially tore the ACL.
Yeah, he tore the ACL, so he's out. He's out. He will not be available in the game. He's this year that he was averaging 7.1 yards per carry, guys, on the ground. So definitely not too bad. Jamal Williams,
a great sleeper pick for fantasy guys. But if you have sleeper app, didn't tell you had tore his ACL yet. So
then he may as well be sleeping in the game because he won't be playing.
Yeah.
So Jamal Williams has been the backup running back, 32 carries, 124 yards to 3.9 yards per carry average and a touchdown. But don't sleep on him. We remember him from his couple years ago with the Lions. This kid could be an absolute touchdown machine if you can just put down the Pokemon cards. The passing game has been disappointing, but that's mostly due to injuries. Derek Carr, 68.1 completion percentage on the year, 214 yards per game. He's got 14 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, but he's only played in 9 games. And obviously their backup quarterback situation is not exactly the best. Chris Olave, 32 catches, 400 yards, and 1 touchdown, 8 games. But again, you can double that and say, okay, he's done about 800 yards in 16 games. Not a great season by any means for him. But again, he's been missing a quarterback for some of those. Rashid Shaheed, 20 catches, 349 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's in 6 games. That works out a little bit better there at that point. So you're talking about 1,000-yard receiving year he's been on pace for if he was healthy for a full season based on that. Juwan Johnson, the tight end, 30 receptions, 313 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Saints, guys, we said 23 points per game on offense. When Derek Carr, wrong Carr. When Derek Carr is in, they average 25.7 points per game, which would move them up from 14th best to 9th best in the league, guys. So don't expect an averaged offense. Expect potentially a decent, not great, but decent offense, because that's what this team has the potential to do. Now, the Saints defense, very much a bend but don't break system. We should be used to that. We're a bend but don't break ourselves. 385.1 yards per game they allow. That's 30th in the league. Obviously not very good. But again, I said 23.4 points per game, 19th. That's what matters. They allow 5.1 yards per carry, 31st. They give up 249.1 passing yards per game, 29th. They are, like I said, bend but don't break. 11th best red zone scoring percentage at 51.35. They allow just 36.9% of third downs to complete. They give up just 38.9% on fourth downs, third best in the league. So, guys, they are the epitome of a bend but don't break system at that point. So you can expect the Giants to maybe put up a little bit of yards, but this is a team that has trouble scoring in the red zone. The Giants do. This is a team that has trouble putting up points, and that plays right into the hands of the Saints.
Yep.
I would say Tyrone Tracy's going to have probably a decent game. Again, they give up 5 yards a carry. So it'll be a very typical Giants game probably, where the Giants don't put up a lot of points. They have a decent running game. They get towards the red zone. They can't get into the end zone. It's like they kind of forget and they think they're done. You know, far be it for me to be the honest one about this year, but I have no faith in this team whatsoever. None.
No.
Yeah. So the big names on defense, by the way, Demario Davis, 82 tackles on the year, and Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, who people forget still plays because he kind of gets lost down there in the bayou. 45 tackles, 3 interceptions in the season. Marshawn Lattimore, who's been their star corner for a few years, was traded to the Commanders this year, so their secondary will definitely be weaker than last year. Last year's 2023 first-round pick, Brian Breesy, leads them at 6.5 sacks at the defensive tackle position, so he's going to be a little bit of a challenge for the interior offensive line. But overall, they've struggled to get to the quarterback, which is good because, quite frankly, our Giants are going to probably be without either one of their don't know what you want to call them, starters. I mean, like, it's going to be bad potentially at this tackle position because the Giants have even more injuries going on than just Andrew Thomas at this point. We'll talk about the injuries fully on tomorrow there, but Jermaine Illuminor didn't practice today. Evan Neal didn't practice today. Like, we could really have Chris Hubbard and Josh Azudu out there starting a tackle. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, Drew Lock's going to be the quarterback because Tommy DeVito is still hurt. And they've already said that Tommy DeVito will not play and Drew Lock will be starting. Last week against the Cowboys, 21-32, 178 yards and an interception. Guys, we're done. We have no chance in this game. I've never been so negative in a pregame show in my life.
That's 100% true. But say we have no chance. I'm not going to say that, but
1%.
22% chance.
You're definitely more optimistic than I.
Listen, Saints are the team that either come play smash mouth football or they also get
smash
mouth. Yeah. So it's Giants have not smashed a lot of teams in the mouth.
No, we have not.
But it's almost like a Vegas trap game coming up. It's the only kind of glimmer of hope I have going into this game is like you look at this matchup, you look at everything that's going on, you look at the injuries, on both sides of the ball. And if I'm a betting man, listen, I'm not going to bet this game whatsoever. Even as a Giants fan, I don't want to bet this game. But part of me thinks this could be a little bit of a trap game. Like, depending on what the spread is, depends on how I bet this game.
A trap game for the Saints? You are getting way too optimistic, my friend.
Listen, if you're talking about like plus 5.5, like you're talking silly.
I honestly think the Giants are gonna get blown out of this game.
I don't think so, blowout.
I really do. Again, if Josh Azudu and Chris Hubbard are the tackles, good luck getting anything going on offense. Throw in the fact that Drew Lock is going to be at quarterback. Throw in the fact that the Saints will have Carr. And don't get me wrong, Carr's not a top quarterback in this league.
I was about to say, you just said Carr, right?
Yeah, but he's still a legit quarterback in this league. He's still an average quarterback in this league. Again, we would take him in a heartbeat. I'm not wrong.
Not a heart. Well, right at this point, yes.
Yes. Right now, we would take him in a heartbeat.
But it's not that big of an upgrade.
If the Saints said we're gonna trade you Carr,
you have to take Carr for 3 years, 3 to 5 years.
If they said we're gonna give you Carr for DeVito and we're gonna work it out money wise, there's no difference in your salary cap. You would take that in a heartbeat.
Well, yeah. Well, that's ridiculous to say.
I know it's ridiculous. I'm just saying you would take him in a heartbeat.
You're going to take a drafted quarterback that was been in the league for a long time.
Listen, doesn't matter undrafted versus undrafted. It matters how good they are. They've both been in the NFL long enough for you to know what they are. DeVito is a guy who is potentially a backup, and that's it.
And DeVito's not even playing.
I'm just saying here's an example. I'm saying, okay, Drew Lock. You'd trade Drew Lock for Derek Carr?
100%.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
let's say you're right.
In a heartbeat.
Who has better defense?
Who's better a better defense? The Giants do.
So we still have a chance.
No. Anyway. I refuse to say we have a chance as long as this offense is as putrid as it is. Who's better?
Well, they also have it. All right. So when you take a 30th ranked defense and you put it against a 22nd ranked defense, but then you go to get offense, and then you take Saints 15th, 18th ranked defense to Giants 12th.
So we're talking about. Let me see here. I'm going to see if I can get you the rankings real quick here. See exactly where they're at. But what I'm getting at is the Saints have let's see what did I say it was again here. 14th best in points in offense, okay? We're 18th at points on defense. That's not a bad matchup. 4 teams, you're talking a very small difference. We average 23.3 points per game is what we give up. So, which is almost exactly where they're at. Now they give up 23.4, which is 19th. But we're 15.3 points per game, which is 32nd. The matchup is that right there. Our defense is as good as their offense. Our offense is nowhere as good as their defense, and their defense is definitely far from elite. It's a slightly below average defense versus the worst offense in the entire league.
So you're saying there's a chance?
No, I'm not. I'm saying there's no chance. This is what we're gonna do. This is what we do. We are the Giants. We are the Giants, guys. The big thing is asking what the Jaguars are doing, as they are playing this week the Titans, and that means there's a chance there. And then the Raiders are playing, let's see here, the Buccaneers. So, like I said, that's the big thing to watch for, is those two to hopefully lose. So, all righty, guys, let's get to the comments real quick before we head on out for the evening here. So we got, let's see here. Let's see. James says Joe Brady doing same after Carolina, I guess. I know he was a QB coach before he got a chance at OC for Bills, I think. Yeah, he was the quarterback coach for a little bit there. Lamar says Cam Ward, QB, New York Giants, book it. I'm there for it. Yep. James says, what QB do you want Giants to draft in 2025? So, James,
look at Lamar Adams.
Yeah, if you go back, James, a little bit there, if you can search up there, we had a whole episode on quarterbacks there. We had Big Dash Nose on there as well, too, another great content creator. But I shouldn't say another great content creator. That kind of insinuates we're great. A great content creator to mix with us idiots. But we did a whole show on the quarterbacks, though. So check that out. We did talk about our opinion on those, but we said in the end that we prefer Cam Ward because I just trust his personality in New York more than I do Shedeur Sanders. Not to say I wouldn't draft Shedeur Sanders if I was the Giants, but I would have to be in the room and get a better feel for his personality, and I don't have that option. So because of that, I'm going to say Cam Ward because I think he's the safer pick.
I think Ward has the lower floor compared to Sanders, but I think Ward has the way higher ceiling and shoot for defenses. Let's go.
Of the two of them, I see Sanders as the bigger bust potential and also the bigger boom potential.
Makes sense because he's also got the name right behind him, so it's like
and he's never not had his daddy with him basically. So
yeah,
I don't know. Again, the interview process would tell me point blank if I would draft him or not. And a lot of that would go based on that because, as James says, he says I wouldn't touch Sanders' head case. That's my concern. He also says, sorry, I followed a lot of Giants channels except Cop Pizzle. No, you're good. You don't have to watch every single episode we do. We appreciate if you do, don't get me wrong, but I don't expect people to listen to everything we do. We're just saying if you want to go back, we did a whole show on that. It's a pretty good listen there at that point there. So, like I said, we talked about, was it 6 quarterbacks we talked about on that one still? We actually have a couple more quarterbacks people have asked for.
Maybe 7.
More. But I want to say it was 6 or it might have been more. Who knows? We did a lot of quarterbacks, so it felt like.
I think it was 4 before I lost power.
It was like a 2.5-hour show we did.
Yeah.
So, it was a long one. So
there's another one where I had a storm and I lost power.
All righty, guys. Well, we're going to call it a night here for you guys. We'll be back, though, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, we're going to be doing our picks show there for you guys. We do have a guest lined up as well for it. That will be a surprise there for you for tomorrow. But so it'll be actually somebody who is known in the social media world, but never, to the best of my knowledge, I believe, never done a podcast before. So it's going to be.
It's not Taylor Swift.
Yeah, we're going to be popping his podcast cherry there for him. But a guy that definitely knows a lot about the Giants and definitely is a diehard Giants guy. So it'll be a good episode, I'm sure. We'll be going over any news, obviously, that happens in the next 24 hours with the Giants. We'll go over the injury report for the game for the Giants and Saints here. And we'll also give all of our picks here for every single game coming up this week here. So if you haven't already, guys, again, hit that like, hit that subscribe. It does help us out tremendously, guys. We appreciate that. While we're on this show, we had a couple of y'all did hit that subscribe button. I've been watching. I've been keeping tabs. So appreciate you guys who did. Again, we'll be back again tomorrow. We are live always every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and, of course, Rob's favorite, My links in the profile. And of course, as always, we're available on all the audio podcast platforms the next day as well. Usually hits about 5 o'clock in the morning on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Pandora, all the big ones there. So if you haven't already and you like listening to audio and video, like them all. No one stops you. There's no cap on how many places you can like us. I promise you that.
Like us everywhere.
So like I said, we'll be back again tomorrow. Appreciate you guys for listening as always. And as always, Giant fans.
Go Jimmy!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please.